My name is Alicia Delancey. I am a partner here at Fourlane, and today we are going to go over inventory assemblies versus groups. This is one of probably, I don't know, one of my favorite topics to talk about. I guess I could talk about it quite a bit. And a lot of people, when they're setting up inventory, they tend to use these incorrectly. So I'm glad that we are going through this today. But again, thanks for joining. So want to talk to everyone real fast about Fourlane and what makes us unique. Some things of why you would want to work with us. So one of our first things is just being QuickBooks, NetSuite, Xero, and Acumatica value-added resellers, so VARs. Not just one, we've got many, so we always want to make sure that we can find the right software solution for our clients. Not only are we ERP consultants, but we can truly maximize QuickBooks. So if you ever have heard that I'm outgrowing QuickBooks or you have said it yourself, try to come give us a shot and see if we can help you use QuickBooks even better, more efficient, even more automation. But if QuickBooks isn't the solution, we've got one for you. And we're also experts in accounting and software, not just one. So a lot of people, a lot of firms, they are experts in either IT or accounting. But one of the things that we do is we understand both. So being able to talk on that financial level and then also talk about the environment, the database, it really kind of sets us apart. And then lastly, being your strategic partner for change management. This is something that, when you're switching softwares or you're building new workflows, change is bound to happen. And sometimes if we're not ready for that, it can be hard. It can be hard on our teams. It can be hard on us. And so we want to be here to support you all the way, 100%. So being that strategic partner with you and your company and team definitely allows us to have successful projects. All right, so gonna jump into our inventory assemblies. I think don't think it has changed. So let me see if I can show that again. All right, so hopefully we're able to look at the inventory assemblies versus our groups. We are going to be able to dive in. So the inventory assembly item type, that definitely is something that, a lot of people, they're either like super excited about it or they're like, no, I don't want to use that just because it comes with a bunch of things, right? So let's kind of dive in and talk about inventory assemblies and what sets them apart from groups. So they are actually real parts. And what do I mean by real parts? We are going to take a look at this in QuickBooks together, but a real part, one way of saying that is basically it's gonna hit accounts, so our chart of accounts. So when we set up an item, we're going to set up the account codes that it's going to hit. It's reportable, so we have the ability to report on inventory assembly items, sales reports, inventory evaluation summary. So I will be able to see what quantity on hand I have. So definitely can get some reporting measurements from there. My bill of materials, so I can set up A true bill of materials under inventory assemblies. I also can see and set up nested sub-assemblies if I need that as well. So, you know, assemblies are things that a lot of manufacturers will use. So it's definitely something that we can measure. Groups. So why are groups different? Groups are not a real part. They do not have any account codes set up behind them. So we'll definitely be able to see that, but there's no account codes. You will not be able to run sales by item summary report and see a group on there. You will also not be able to run the inventory valuation summary and see a group item. So the inventory valuation summary only tracks inventory parts and inventory assemblies. Okay. I like to say that a group is really for display purposes, right? It's a nice way to show your customers what you're selling, but not all the things behind it, right? We could use that for internal purposes only. We have the ability to print it out if we want to, but it's not a requirement. It's also something that companies will use when they sell kits. So you kind of hear that if I'm selling a kit, that is typically means we're going to set up some groups. Okay, so we talked a little high level. Hopefully everybody was able to kind of follow along with the slide deck here, but I want to have some fun and get into QuickBooks. All right, the whole reason why we're here, right? Looking at QuickBooks. So obviously in order for our item list, right, to show inventory parts and things like that, we do need to go to company preferences. So if you are doing this on your own for the first time, edit company preferences, and then we want to go to items and inventory, which is what we're seeing on the screen. And then we want to be able to turn on and just select inventory and purchase orders are active. Okay. All right, at least then when we go to our item list, we will be able to see all of our item types. Okay, inventory parts and assemblies being one of them. So I want to open up an assembly item that is in my sample file. And behind the scenes, so I called this a real part, right? And it's like, okay, Alicia, why is this a real part? So when I use this item, right, I have 3 accounts that are going to be impacted. So we've got a chart of accounts here, got our cost of goods sold here, our income account, and our asset account here. So this part is going to hit my financials. So when I use it, it is going to make an impact. Okay. I'm also going to be able to see, right, if I go to reports and I go to sales by item summary, I have the ability to see inventory parts, assembly parts, even service and some other charges, but not groups. When I go to inventory valuation summary, I see inventory parts. I see inventory assemblies, quantities, asset values, no groups. Okay. So hopefully that is really kind of helpful in the fact that, right, an assembly is a true part, right? I'm going to go show you real fast what I mean by a group not being a true part. So I'm just going to go create a new one, and we're going to select group. What's missing? Well, the very first thing that I can see that's missing, where's the account codes? There's not any. So this is why I'm saying it's not a real part, right? I can put it on things. I can put it on a sales order, an estimate, an invoice. I can put it on these transactions, but there's no financial impact at this level, okay? So if I do test group A, right? I'm just gonna say test group A again, because I'm obviously don't have a creativity in my head right now. But this group, test group A, it's not gonna hit any account, right? So the body of this group, right, which is called components, not to be confused with the bill of materials in an assembly. It is the components that are going to show up on reports. So where do these items come from? These items that I'm going to select to make up test group A, they're already set up on my item list, right? And so as most of us know, when I set up an item on my item list, with the exception of groups, there's an account code assigned to them, or I select an account code. So for example, if I do the AN spring, okay, I'm gonna just throw some things in here, right? These are all items that are set up, okay? All of these items in this group, they're already assigned to accounts, right? So let's just go take a look at this AN spring really fast. Where is it going to hit? Income account's gonna hit pool covers. COGS is going to be cost of goods sold. Okay. So I want to go show, right? What does it look like on a sales order? I always pick on lost wages, but when I go to a sales order and I select my test group A, what does this look like? So I'm gonna go ahead and just save it. Okay, so I saved this transaction. What does it look like behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, I have an item, and these items are the components that were in my group. So everybody see how that works here? Those are the components that are gonna show up in my reports, right? When I go sell this, my sales reports are going to see and show that I've sold these components, not the group item. So that's how we have the ability to track, right, kits and things like that, okay? So big difference is if I was to go in and I was to sell, right, my 1000 MC, this is my assembly, okay? And my assembly, I know my sample file does not like the fact that I've got it dated 24 because it wants to be in 2027. So sorry about that pop-up. But my 1000 MC, this is my assembly. right? And my assembly doesn't give me the ability to show, like groups do, the bill of materials or the components that make it up. I'm just going to see this 1000 MC. And when I go look at the journal entry behind it, my item is the 1000 MC. Okay, so that really shows us how things are going to be tracked, right? Okay, I have a question really fast, so I want to make sure that I can address it. And it's a great question. So let me go to the item list. And I know this isn't anything to do with inventory or assemblies, inventory assemblies versus groups, but it's a great, great question. So thank you for asking it. Basically, the question is, what is this category? So this individual has 2022 and they don't have this. This is a new feature in QuickBooks 2023. If you go look at our What's New webinar that's available on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to really get all the awesome things. I think I also did a webinar on the category as well. But this allows you to basically track your items in a different manner. So you would categorize all of your items. So definitely a new feature in 2023. Okay, great question. So let's see, is more, okay. So another comment was just saying like groups are kind of more superficial than wanted to do something. Okay, so like if I wanted to do something for a particular client, I'm not sure if it makes exact sense to say you would use an assembly versus a group. It's really, my first question that I ask is, do you need to report on this item? Okay, so if I want to see, right, my sales reports, if I want to be able to see whatever the item is, whatever I am selling, and I want to be able to track it, I want to be able to see what profit I'm making, right? I want to see how much I have on hand. That's when I kind of, whatever the answer is there, that's when we can decide if it's going to be an assembly or a group, okay? Want to add to that. So if we go to an assembly item, right? I have the ability to add a sub-assembly. Okay, so a sub-assembly or nested assembly, that could also be something that we call it, okay? And so if I add this, right, I now have the ability to do a manufacturing process, right? I can also create workflows for things like, sometimes people, you know, they misunderstand how assemblies can help even companies that I'm going to say like a cake baker, right? If I was baking a cake or like different cookies, it could be like my ingredients. It could also be my process, right? I had a client that they created flavors, so individual flavors. So their bill of materials or their build assembly, that was structured and set up so that you, like their workers would be able to identify the first steps. So what had to be built or mixed together first, and then what was the second, and then what was the third, right? So it doesn't have to just be I manufacture widget A, right? It can also be our formulas, our ingredients, things like that. So I have the ability to build my sub-assembly and then build my finished good that I'm going to sell. In a group, it's kind of all at once, right? So it's just my components. I could list them in an order, right? But everything is in here. I can also add things to a group that I can't technically add to an assembly. Okay, and I'm sure some people are like, what are you talking about? What is this? So in an assembly item, I cannot add a group, okay? So just make sure everybody heard that. I cannot add a group item to a bill of materials for an inventory assembly part. I can add to groups though, subtotals. I can add discounts. Okay, I can add sales tax items. So if I had those things and I wanted to add that to a group, I could do that. All right. Have a bunch of things coming in. So I have 9 minutes and I'm going to try to answer all of these questions. So let me just show y'all one thing that I think is important to talk about with a group. So if I wanted to print the items in my group, this is where basically if I select this, what I'm saying is this group name here, test group A, that is going to show in the body of whatever my transaction is, invoice, sales order, estimate. So this is going to be kind of the top header. But then when I select print items in my group, what I'm doing is I'm also saying I want to allow my client, my customer, to see what makes up test group A. So this is for display purposes, right? Because regardless, those component items that make up group A, that's the financial impact, right? Those items have that financial impact. But I'm going to allow, by checking this box, these individual items to be printed on the transaction, PDF printed, but they're going to show. All right. So I want to go show this. So if I go and I create an invoice and I go to lost wages, I now see my items here, right? Still stuck in 24. So if I had it to not print, still these items are going to show, right? But now in my print preview, we see these items here. Okay, so that is your preference. Do you want the customer to see these individual things, or is it really just for internal purposes? I can print like a pick list so that my warehouse knows what to go pick, right? But I wouldn't want the customer to see the individual components that make up that group. So one question is asking, would a group item be good to use if we're selling an item made by multiple vendors? Okay, and potentially, right? It depends on, I would say, a couple of things. So if I'm taking, let's just say, like 3 different finished goods that I buy from 3 different vendors, and I'm putting them together to make a brand new part, and adding like labor or shipping material or anything like that, I may want to set that up as an assembly so I could get the full cost and truly see whatever that finished good item name is, how many of those I'm selling, right? If those like 3 components from those different vendors go into other things that I'm selling, I really would want to set up an assembly, because I would be able to run a report to see like the difference between the finished goods, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit more to just a yes or no, if this, then that. And again, that first question is going to be, do you need to see how many of these items you're selling? Okay. That's always a first rule of thumb that I always ask my clients. And then the max number of items that can be added to an assembly, I believe that is the question. And what, and I have in my head on that one is 100. So 100 components. I really haven't seen anyone not be able to use that 100 component list, or like basically like, you know, reach that limit because of the sub-assembly capabilities. So that is something that, you know, if that's ever an issue, but assembly items can be 100, I think, and that may be with Premier, and then 500 with Enterprise. So hopefully that helps answer that question. Okay, and y'all, great questions. Thank y'all for asking those. If I did miss anyone, I will try to go back through this after the webinar and follow up with you. But if you do have any remaining questions after this, always feel free to reach out to us. Okay, so I do want to go back to just the assemblies really fast. So these assemblies, right, if I have a service item and I want the service item, so like labor, installation, things like that, to be included in my inventory assembly part or bill of materials, I have to make sure I select this box, okay? If I don't, I won't be able to see that item to add to the bill of materials. And so that can mislead people, so they think your only option is to set up that group, okay? So again, if I can show this to you just by clicking new, because I know sometimes when we go do this on our own, it's like, wait, what did that girl say? So right here, the service is used in assemblies or performed by a subcontractor, right? So if I click that, I now have the ability for it to be a double-sided item, and I can add this to the bill of materials on an assembly part, okay? If I don't, I won't be able to see it. All right, I know we are coming up to time. Again, this is like one of my favorite topics. I could talk to my clients about this forever and go through all different kinds of scenarios. If you still have questions, please reach out. I would love to be able to talk through some of these things with y'all. Let me just kind of tell you about our QuickBooks Enterprise future courses. So coming up, credit card management, purpose of estimates. Why would we even use those? Construction over and unders, creating a bid, the month-end close package. This is an amazing thing for you know, CFOs, controllers. Y'all come join us for that. And then balance sheet reconciliations. So if there's anything else you would like to learn, if you're not part of our Facebook group, please join us there. And then I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate your time.